Wait, what's wrong with it?
And understand why this situation is exactly the most awkward one you've ever heard of. It all started when my best friend
Swish.
they were going on a family vacation to sunny Cuba for a couple
My gosh, I'm tired.
because she
Not real tired, but bored.
since we've been childhood
Get that out of here, please.
they asked me to look after their apartment and feed their cat while they would be away.
Swish. Ouch.
We lived on a nearby street, and it wasn't difficult for me to come over from time to time. The day before they were going to leave, Samantha and I spent it together. I helped her get ready. We discussed how many new things she would see, and we dreamed that one day, when we got older, we would definitely go on vacation together. We were so busy talking that we didn't notice it was already getting dark outside. We decided this is
Little boy.
They agreed I would spend the night with them and see them off, feed the cat in the morning, and go away on my business. But everything went wrong from the very beginning. Instead
I'm gonna get Michael Jordan this night tonight.
of parents off, I slept like a dog until the morning.
And Ruby, Michael Jordan. I don't care if I get rubies, they're still good.
Friend. They didn't want to wake me up at night, so they left, trying not to make any noise while they were packing their things. All the instructions were left for me in a note attached to the refrigerator. It was Saturday.
Swish.
To get some more sleep.
How did I miss that?
All the recommendations, run errands, and go for a walk with friends. My parents had gone to stay with my grandparents in a town nearby that weekend, so
You know
I was
damn well.
around. After a good night's sleep, I fed the cat, ate the breakfast cooked for me, and got ready to come out. But when I tried to open the front door, I realized it was closed. Well,
Fail.
that makes sense, I thought. Surely when Samantha and her parents left, they closed the door for security reasons. It's still night, and I'm fast asleep.
How did I miss?
Visit without asking. My friend gave me the keys earlier in the day, so I just had to find them and hurry. I was already late for a meeting with my friends, and suddenly I realized I had a big problem. The fact is that in the evening, when I was going to visit Samantha, I hadn't taken my backpack, but a small purse with the most necessary things. And the keys, of course, were not among the necessary things. Oops. So, I'm in someone else's apartment. On the 20th floor, the door is locked with a key, and the key is my phone,
Swish.
which is empty since my parents left for the whole weekend to another city. Just fine. Looking at the time, I realized that Samantha should have already landed in Cuba by now. I immediately dialed her number, hoping she would tell me that there was a spare set of keys hidden somewhere in the cookie jar in the kitchen or under the whole rug. But alas, my hopes were not fulfilled. Samantha sincerely sympathized with me, but she said that no one could help me for sure. She was about to say something else when I heard a sudden noise from the kitchen. It was as if someone had dropped a glass tumbler on the floor. There was no one else in the apartment, is there? Except for me and the cat. Well, of course. This
I'm
monster
worried, y'all.
climbed on the table and decided to do a little housework. Well, that's what I told myself. But when I got to the kitchen door, I saw a completely different picture. I almost dropped my phone in surprise.
Y'all wanna go
Dino was
to?
sitting on the floor picking up the pieces. When I entered the kitchen, he turned around, gave me a nice wave, and said hello, introducing himself as Chris. What, Chris? Where did you come from?
Oh.
I could hear Samantha start talking on the phone, and when I put the phone to my ear, all I could hear were the words cousin, unexpected, at night, and she ended with a cheery, I hope we make friends. Chris, having already got rid of the pieces, stood with a new glass, calmly drinking water and looking at me, smiling. He seemed amused by my reaction. I knew that just looking at each other in silence was kind of stupid. I also introduced myself and said I was a friend of Samantha. Chris said hello again and explained how he got into the apartment. It turned out that he and his parents lived in another state, but planned to enter the university in our city. He was about to start his admission course next week, so he had arrived early to get a little more comfortable in the city and take a walk. And here, so successfully, there was a free apartment. I listened to him and thought about how to get up the courage to tell him we definitely won't be able to leave this apartment for the next 2 days. Just in case, I called my mom and asked when they planned to return to the city, in case they could save me from being sure we had enough food for a couple of days, which means we won't have to starve. I knew I had to tell Chris everything before planning a fun weekend. Chris's reaction was quite unexpected. I thought he would laugh with me at the stupidity of the situation, but he was angry. He yelled at me, saying I was stupid and stupid and stupid. I ruined his whole weekend, and even ruined his date. Well, yeah, I'm to blame. But why yell at me for this? Yes, it was a great meeting. Nothing else to say. We went to different rooms. We're a headless world and ruined all. Is a moron who doesn't know how to communicate with girls. I spoke loud enough for him to hear too. By the evening, I was too bored. I ate, slept, watched TV shows, and texted my friends. But the prospect of spending the next day the same way did not make me very happy. I knew that if I talked to Chris, it would be more fun to watch movies and have lunch together. But I didn't want to be the first to make up. He got angry, so let him apologize. And just as I was thinking about it, he knocked on the door and asked permission to come in. He apologized for his bad behavior, said he just didn't expect to spend the whole weekend locked up. Chris brought some ice cream and suggested watching a horror movie together. He had slept for half a day, and now he didn't know what to do. I didn't argue anymore and agreed. It was even a little like a date. Dark room, light from the screen. We're sitting next to each other on the couch, eating ice cream from the same bucket. Isn't that a little bit romantic in some way? I didn't even think about Chris that way, resenting him all day. And he turned out to be a cheerful, sociable guy. Who knows how to insert a joke in the movie at the right moment, so it wasn't scary. Anyway, the next day we cooked breakfast together and talked almost like best friends. Still, it was a great idea to make up and live together. Otherwise, I couldn't stand another day in complete silence and disguise. I kept glancing at Chris, noting his good looks, strong hands, and smile. And I caught the same interest in studying look on myself. Well, a guy and a girl in a locked apartment. You know, it's not surprising. There was a spark between us. After lunch, he casually asked me if I had a boyfriend, and if I'd ever been in a relationship. I was terribly shy, but admitted I'm not very good with guys yet. But I hope the best is yet to come. Then he asked an even more embarrassing question. Had I ever been kissed? Of course, I said no again. And I was just about to change the subject when he suddenly offered to teach me how to kiss. Of course, I was confused at first. And then I thought, why not? He's a cool, good-looking guy. Probably more experienced than me. Anyway, I agreed. And he decided not to postpone such a pleasant activity for a long time and kissed me. And maybe this story would have been my coolest memory if it hadn't been for what happened next. Chris and I are sitting on the couch, learning how to kiss, so to speak, when my mom walks in, because she decided to come early and bring me the keys. To say she was in shock is an understatement. Yes, we were frightened, and we jumped away from each other to different sides of the sofa. Of course, my mom told me to get ready to go home right away, where I could expect a serious discussion. Now, I remember the story with a smile, but then I was terribly ashamed and embarrassed. So, this romantic story ended before it could even begin. Tell me, did something like this ever happen to you? Maybe you often find yourself in awkward situations too. Feel free to share your stories in the comments below this video. If you enjoyed my story, please click the like button. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications not to miss new videos and stories. See you. Bye-bye.
Hello everyone, my name is Chris. I study in college and I have an unusual hobby, bringing me profits. You've probably heard that people always tend to collect something, right? Like action figures, comic book characters, postcards, stamps, posters of their favorite band, magnets from different countries on the fridge. I also have my own collection. But hey, what's so unusual about it? The thing is, I collect other people's secrets. I find out something by accident, or find out something exchange one secret for another and get money for this. Sounds interesting, right? I still remember my first exhibit item in the collection. And the most important thing is that later I learned how to make money on my hobby. How? I'll tell you. Well, it all started when I went to high school. Like many of my classmates, I dreamed of finishing school, going to college or university, and then definitely going to work. Why? To earn money. Why earn money? To buy what I want, so I can stop asking my parents for pocket money. Of course, while studying at school, one can also find some part-time jobs. For example, walking the neighbor's dog, pizza delivery on weekends, selling ice cream in a small van, whatever. But every time I told my parents I planned to find a small job for myself, they strictly forbade me to do this, saying it would distract me from studying, which was so important to me, and they gave me more pocket money. Well, I was fine with it until a certain moment. Nevertheless, I still had the idea that it would be great to find a part-time job that would not interfere with my studies, and would not require a lot of effort. I wanted it so badly that this job found me. One day after class, me and my friend were loudly discussing a new video game during the lesson, and in the end, for some reason, I turned out to be a whipping boy. I had to quickly clean up the anatomy room, dust the shelves, sweep up the trash, and so on. But this was the anatomy room, so I decided it was a good time to get to know the local school landmark, Scotty the Skeleton. I opened the closet where the teacher had carefully hidden Scotty, and I was turning on my phone to shoot a killer TikTok video when I heard some voices. My first reaction was for some reason, I would be sure I would get into trouble for touching something in this office without asking, so I barely fit into Scotty's closet. Judging by the voices, the biology teacher and the geography teacher, who were known throughout the school as best friends and gossip girls, came into the classroom together. They didn't think there might be anyone in the class, so they didn't even lower the volume of their voices. And judging by their emotions and intonations, they were clearly discussing something personal and not work issues. While I was listening, I could even make out what they were talking about. And they did what they loved most, gossiping. They discussed their colleague, an art teacher, who, as it turned out, cheated on her husband with our principal. Whoa, that's news! I can't say this is what I really wanted to know, but the information was quite interesting, so I couldn't help but listen even more. Judging by the words of the friends, everyone at school had long guessed this, and at the last New Year's party, they finally figured this out. Except that Mrs. Roberts' husband, our art teacher, didn't know anything about it, which made the female part of the group sympathetic. It's kinda a soap opera show over there. The teachers discussed something else and left the office for lunch. I was glad for the opportunity and quickly tidied up the office, if you can call a couple of swipes a cleaning. Then I quickly washed the floor with a rag and a mop and went home. I really wanted to share the secret I had learned, but gossiping is not my style, you know? Just out of curiosity, I checked Mrs. Roberts' Facebook profile page. Many photos with family, kids, and husband, but she's probably not as positive as she wants to look like. And suddenly, I wanted to kind of prank the teacher. I wanted to text Mrs. Roberts kinda like, I know what you did last summer, and see her reaction. I was so excited with this idea that I even created a fake account, opened a dialogue with Mrs. Roberts, and texted her, I know you're cheating on your husband. Just like that, period. I must admit, I thought there was a 90% chance she would ignore my message, but the response came almost instantly. Mrs. Roberts asked me who I was and what I wanted for my silence. I mean, what do I want for my silence? I thought it was just a joke, and she was ready to make a deal right away just to keep me quiet. I definitely didn't expect this. Wanting to continue my joke, I calculated the amount and texted her. She immediately agreed and said she would put the money under one of the benches in the local park. At this point, she closed the dialogue, apparently sending my contact to the blacklist. What the heck was it? The next day, just out of curiosity, I waited until there was no one in the park and looked under the bench Mrs. Roberts pointed to in our messages. There was a wrapped the money. It took me a couple of seconds to make a decision. After all, I couldn't just leave it there, could I? That's how I sold my first secret. The random secret that was accidentally sold by me. But the more I thought about it, the more I had the nagging idea I could make money on it on a more permanent basis. But the thing is, where could I get so many secrets? And the answer came to me by itself. Again, me and my friends were sitting in a cafe near the school. Most often, it was filled with high school students who did not particularly want to go home after school. I went to the bathroom, but noticed that all the booths in the men's room were occupied. Without thinking twice, as the body demanded its own, I turned into the women's toilet, and fortunately, it was empty. I slipped into one of the booths and hoped I would remain unnoticed. Then I heard some voices. Two girls were talking. I couldn't tell from the voice who it was, but I could tell they were probably from my school too. And judging by the content of their conversation, they were 100% from some senior classes. One friend told another she was planning to get pregnant by her boyfriend, specifically so that she wouldn't have to worry about going to university, and also to keep the guy from going to another woman. Are you kidding me? Does this really happen in real life? I even sympathized with her poor boyfriend beforehand. I opened the door just enough to see at least some of the clothes on one of the speakers. I decided that when I returned to the gym, I would try to find out exactly who was
this 72?
And I did it. It really was the girl from the senior class. My friend's sister went to school with them, so in the evening, it was not difficult for me to find these girls on Facebook. And then the guy who was in danger of becoming a happy father in the near future. I've been staring at his page for a long time. I was wondering whether it was the right thing to tell him this little secret, or was it none of my business? But in the end, I started a conversation with an anonymous account. I introduced myself as a well-wisher and revealed the harsh truth as it was. Then, for some reason, I didn't even think about asking for money for revealing the secret. At first, Eddie, the guy's name, didn't believe me. He called me all sorts of names and told me not to make up such nonsense. But I just suggested he go all in and talk to his girlfriend as if he already knew everything. I don't know if my words affected him or if he was already planning the conversation, but the next day he texted me, thanked me, and told me it was all true, and then suddenly offered a monetary reward. I did not refuse, and used the already proven method with a bench in the park. So I sold my second secret. That's how I made sure people are definitely willing to pay for such a product, so to speak. And you can sometimes accidentally learn someone's secrets and use this knowledge for your own purposes. Women's toilets, parties, and even the girls themselves are perfect sources for adding secrets to my unique collection. For example, once a girl, wanting to please me, said some secret about her friends. After that, I started doubting whether she really was their friend or just an acquaintance who doesn't mind whispering behind their backs. You may be judging me now, thinking I'm poking my nose into other people's affairs. But anyway, it's not ethical to interfere in someone else's life, but I don't think that my...
That's trifling.
My name's
Not
Tucker,
gonna lie to anyone.
and I have an It Just Cannot Be Worse story. To be exact, it's about how my mom betrayed my stepfather and me, even though she thought she was protecting me. Or not, I'm not sure anymore. It just so happened that I didn't have a father. Well, probably there's a man somewhere from whose biological fluid I was born, but neither my mom nor even me ever crossed paths with him after my conception. My mom was always reluctant to answer questions about him. From what I've heard, it turned out they were never even a couple. Just met once. And somehow I appeared. For a very long time,
Hold up.
my mom followed along. In fact, my mom made me the meaning of her life. initially said that we were good together, but by the time I was 12, she gave up, and Paul appeared in our house. I don't know if my mom really felt anything for him. She was a rather complicated person in this regard, and more often scared men away than attracted them. But Paul was a really good person, and also extremely patient. At first, he and my mom just dated, but after 6 months, he moved in with us and became my official stepfather. I can only imagine how hard it must have been for him to be with my mom, because she wasn't used to having anyone else in the house besides me and her. Well, and she behaved this way. She didn't agree, ignored, could just forget that Paul even existed.
Of course he touched me.
But somehow they tamed each other, and things went well. Too well. Like, I was scared that my stepdad would never be the same as my dad. I wondered what kind of dad he was. If he's mine, then I don't know him. That most likely a strange man would want his own rules in the house, or even won't accept me at all and want his own kid. But in fact, Paul did nothing of that kind. On the contrary. No, he wasn't trying to be a dad to me, but rather a friend who's older. He also understood that it was stupid to ask a 12-year-old girl to call him daddy. So he just talked to me, taught me something, took me to baseball games, and tried to get a little closer. I went along with it because I was wondering what it would be like to grow up with a dad. It turned out to be fun. The only thing was, my mom didn't seem to like our relationship very much. I don't know why, really. Of course, she didn't show it directly, but there was something about certain phrases and gestures that slipped in places. Like, she was jealous of me. She has such a thing. She doesn't like it when her things or people run away from her. My mom and her best friend had already quarreled when she got married. At first, everything was okay, but at some point, her friends started to think more about the family, started talking about kids, and started to move away. And my mom got a little freaked out and broke off all communication. And in our family, things were something of the same. On the one hand, she was glad that me and Paul were communicating, and on the other hand, well, she wasn't used to sharing me with someone. So it turned out she was jealous. Or maybe not me, but my stepdad. I didn't even know. But at least she didn't speak out, and thanks for that. My mom is kind of specific, yeah. Anyway, time passed by. I grew up, and our family nest gradually strengthened. At some point, I voluntarily started to call my stepfather Daddy, because he was really cool, and my mom finally became flaky. When I was 14, I realized my mom was jealous. No, she used to do this kind of thing, but right now, it was such a bad female jealousy. Like a man to a woman, even though only bows on my head made me a woman. Seriously, somehow I grew very slowly, maybe because I was small. And at 14, I could only dream of breasts or something like that. Personally, such jealousy was totally incomprehensible to me, and even disgusting. My relationship with Paul was like daughter-daddy, and he only saw in me a small mischief, the daughter of a beloved woman, and a kid who still has to be brought up. That's probably why my mom rarely exploded. She saw her mother, and that didn't stop her inner demons from drawing creepy pictures. By this time,
I'm thinking not getting Michael Jordan now, y'all.
More precisely, by the time I was 14, I had already received a couple of junior categories. I was a member of the city team, and my mentors predicted that I would become an Olympian. I spent most of my time working out and the rest of my time at school, so I didn't have free time for something else. Because of sports, or rather because of an injury, there was a situation that happened. At one of the classes, I performed an element unsuccessfully, and I collapsed with all my weight on my own hand. It was good there were no fractures, but my shoulder suffered. It was dislocated and quite strong. The coach took me to the hospital, and they offered me a choice, a cast for a week or an ointment. I chose the ointment, because a plaster is quite disgusting, and if I can avoid it, I will do without it. I was smeared with ointment, then wrapped in a special bandage and sent home, saying that I should rub it in every 3 hours. I honestly
I'll see if it's a lock to tell y'all.
And
No, not no locker code.
started to wait for help, and the first person who came home was my stepdad. When he saw me in this position, he laughed at first, but after laughing, he sat down and started to rub this damn ointment on me. Now imagine what it looked like from the outside. A little naked
Try to do it again.
and a man who touches her back. Nope, not even in this scenario. There is nothing criminal at all. Well, as with my logic, but my mom didn't think like that at all. I can't even imagine what she thought. While we all tried to explain about the shoulder injury, show the ointment, and the instructions from the doctor, my mom was silent. And then I just suddenly started yelling and throwing myself at people around me, or rather at Paul. It seemed that we calmed her down after 15 minutes. Even put her in a chair and sprinkled water, but when my mom ran away, we didn't think anything of it. Well, maybe she forgot something. Maybe she forgot to get some air. Who knows when she was hysterical. But then my mom came
God.
and they took Paul in handcuffs very quickly and even left me in silence. When I asked what was going on, my mom just laughed and said she had been suspecting for a long time that something was wrong. In her opinion, a grown man couldn't mess with someone else's kid.
Well,
Unless he was one of the abnormal ones. And now she had just seen the confirmation of her theory with her own eyes. It turned out that my mom only pretended that everything was okay. And she went to the police and wrote a statement about Paul, that he allegedly tried to molest me. Only think, you're living with a person, having a wish to be good. You're making friends with a kid, demonstrating your positivity, and then you're almost in prison.
what?
Behind bars almost immediately, apparently so that he wouldn't attack anyone. They took him to the courtroom from his cell, although it's not according to the law. What they did to him in prison, I'm afraid to imagine, because I'm still young and I don't have so much imagination. Although, looking at him, I knew perfectly well that there wasn't anything good for him there. I was the only person who came to protect him, me and the city's lawyer to be exact. And together, we proved in court there was no evidence. Paul never did anything like this to me, and my mom saw a thing that was just a medical procedure. We can't even get my discharge from the hospital provided, including those where I went for the treatment. As a result, after 4 sessions, Paul was free, and he wasn't guilty anymore. And my mom did something I didn't expect her to do. First, she didn't believe in the results of all the examinations and interrogations. And second, she kicked me out of the house.
I'll play this game. I don't care.
She said that
This
since
game thing, I'm playing with them.
it's not clear what she meant. That it's my problem, and she would let me live as I want to go on without her. We had a new trial with the same lawyer, who really enjoyed winning cases. I was officially placed in the custody of Paul, and my mom was obliged to pay me child support until I turned 18. And since then, my stepdad, who has long been my dad, and me are living together. Of course, at first it was quite difficult, because our city is small and gossip spreads fast. In the end, my stepdad went to extreme measures. He sold his house, and we moved to a city nearby, to a bigger one. I went to a new school, and he got a normal job, and everyone who cares about us thinks we're a dad and a daughter. They even find a resemblance. I don't blame my mom, though I don't understand
Oh
her.
God, y'all.
We communicate, although more often on the phone, and don't even quarrel. The only thing I never mention to her is Paul, because she gets really very angry. That's how a stranger turned out to be a much cooler parent than a real mom for me. Write in the comments your thoughts about my story. Share this video with fans of family melodramas. And remember, a father isn't the one who gave you life, but the one...
Electrical charges live at the heart of every hybrid. Only a few truly move us. With over 1 million on the road, Lexus hybrids are always charged and always ready. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. After you have a heart attack, you're always worried that you're going to have another one.
want to hear that.
Hello, everyone. This is the Leo and Lily show. My name's Lily. Oh, this is my allergy. I never thought I would be one of those unfortunate people suffering from allergic reactions every spring, or even every day. Once my parents gave me a Scottish kitten for my birthday. I was very happy with such a gift. But here's the problem. On the same day, I noticed that when I was playing with him, I sneezed constantly, and then my nose was running and my eyes watered. The doctor made a disappointing conclusion. I was allergic to wool. I was so hurt. I cried all the time. What about my nice fluffy gift now? But the doctor said I got lucky because there are some types of allergies that are not so easy to live with. I wondered and asked him more about it. Then I carefully studied this issue myself. And today I will tell you about the most unusual types of allergies. Water allergy. One of the most unusual allergic reactions is water urticaria. Most often, this allergy can be found in Africa, India, and other countries with a very hot climate. People who live there do not have constant access to water sources, so their skin gets used to low humidity conditions. Their skin reaction to water is absolutely amazing. Red spots, rashes, and sometimes even burns on the body. But the worst thing is that such a reaction can occur even from sweat droplets on the skin. Fortunately, water allergy is a relatively rare disease. Only 35 people have been registered in the world with this one. One of them was an English woman, Rachel Prince. She had an allergic reaction to any liquid. For example, taking a shower or a glass of water causes mucous membranes to swell, skin redness, rash, and itching. Even your own tears can cause all these unpleasant reactions. Yeah, you can't even cry of despair because of your misfortune. Sun allergy. This type of allergy is also quite rare.
Alright, I
There are no more than 300 such cases in the world. Doctors call this allergy solar urticaria or erythropoietic protoporphyria. So here's the essence of this allergic reaction. When skin is exposed to direct sunlight, the immune system triggers the subcutaneous cell's inflammation process. This reaction occurs due to some external and internal factors. For example, external factors include allergenic substances appearing on the skin essential oil surface, pharmaceutical and cosmetic products, plant pollen, etc., which cause irritation under the sunlight influence. Internal factors may be the immune system failures, hidden diseases, and certain medicines. Surprisingly, some medicines increase the skin's sensitivity to the UV light and make it extremely vulnerable. People who face this type of allergy have to limit their time in the sun and use sunscreen. In some severe cases, you even have to wear special clothing and avoid sunlight by any means. Cold allergy. According to statistics, every 100th allergy patient suffers from an inadequate reaction to cold. Instead of just chattering their teeth and merrily bouncing around trying to keep warm, their bodies get instantly covered in red spots. Allergies to low temperatures are very dangerous. It can be accompanied by fainting or anaphylactic shock. The cause of such an allergic reaction is failure of a body to carry out its protective functions. But the most frightening thing about this disease is that if you don't notice it in time, it can cause a fatal outcome. Swimming in a cold pool or taking a cold shower can lead to a dangerously sharp, irreversible increase of such symptoms. In both cases, the body goes into a state of shock. So if you suddenly noticed an unusual reaction when bathing in cold water, you should seriously think about it. Exercise allergy. Yeah, it sounds like an excuse from doing sports for some lazy asses, but some really contraindicated to exercise. The fact is that after physical exercise, they get allergy symptoms, skin itching, rash, trunk or limb swelling. These unpleasant symptoms can usually persist for several hours. However, this type of allergy is very rare and may not even occur in young and healthy people. touch allergy. It sounds very dramatic and mysterious. The sources of this allergic reaction have not been studied yet, but the statistics say about 3% of the population cannot physically tolerate other people's touches. When in contact with someone else's skin, these allergy patients get urticaria. The skin becomes dry and thin. According to doctors, this allergy has a psychosomatic nature, and there is simply no universal cure for it.
Nature.
And even hugging a person suffering from this disease to comfort him is impossible. Money allergy. You won't believe it, but it happens. Seems like holding treasured bills in your hands is one of the most
Goodbye,
pleasant
y'all.
sensations.